Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Friday, May 14th installment of the Silicon Insider, the only uncensored look at life and business in the Valley. My name is Mike Malone. I'm here with our special contributor, Scott Budman of NBC Bay Area. Our producer is Jordan Henderson. All of us are vaccinated. Our East Coast correspondent is Bob Grove, and our host is the Silicon Valley Business Journal. Okay, this week, Scott, crypto.
Yeah.
I really sense that this may be some kind of turning point in the whole crypto world, but I'm not sure where it's turning to. You know what I mean? Everything seemed to come together this week from all corners, but the implications aren't clear yet.
No, because it came together, but then it fell apart, and then
Yes.
it came back together. I would call this the craziest week in crypto, and if you think about it, that's saying something.
Yes, in a crazy industry, this was the craziest week. It begins with Elon Musk, as we predicted. Elon
Right.
Musk, Saturday Night Live, Saturday night. Okay, every crypto coin owner out there is especially Dogecoin are watching SNL to see what he says, and SNL seemed to know that and salted Doge all the way through the show. I guess, were you tracking
Yeah.
the pricing during it? He had two
Yes.
screens going.
Yeah, it's funny. We usually use the term dual screen
Yeah.
largely for fantasy football owners who are watching their television and tracking their fantasy football teams.
Right.
And the dual screen thing, or if you're watching, say, an award show or a TV soap and you're following Twitter
Yeah.
to see what people are saying, that's the dual screen. I think that really made a comeback on Saturday night. People were watching television and dual screening, checking the price of especially Doge from the opening monologue.
Now, for the most part, they made fun, but it was promoting Dogecoin. I mean, it went up when on the weekend update when they asked him, "Is this a Dodge?" and he went, "Yeah." Did that impact the price?
It's hard to say if any individual sentence impacted the price, but from the get-go, this was a, what do they call it? Buy on the rumor, sell on the news
Yeah.
sort of thing. Because Doge went way up into the 70 cents. Granted, we're still talking, less than $1 here. Up into the 70s before the show. By the end of the show, it was down into the 40s.
Yeah.
So clearly it was sell on the news. The news being, hey, Elon Musk, who pumps Doge whenever he can, is actually on a network show talking about it.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it didn't spike it higher. I think he's apparently more effective tweeting about Doge than he is joking about it on television.
Yeah. So then what happened? I mean, we had the
Well, I mean,
didn't we have an arrest in there too this week?
there were a lot of things. I think one of the big things that happened to test this was Robinhood, which has accepted crypto long ago onto
Right.
its trading platform, and much like it did with the meme stocks when AMC and GameStop were trading, it crashed.
Yes.
So this time crypto crashed Robinhood because so many people were buying and selling Dogecoin during Saturday Night Live. So you had this subplot of the way young people trade stocks and crypto actually crashing while they're watching a program.
I've never seen so much emotional trading in my life.
Right. And that's why I say to you, when you said off the top of the show, this is an inflection point, we really don't know where this thing is going yet.
Yeah, so this is one of those things that just when you think it can't get any more insane, it gets more insane.
Right. I mean, later in the week, come Wednesday, Elon Musk, who finds himself at the center of this crypto thing, well, he doesn't
Yeah.
find himself, he places himself
Oh, yeah, he
firmly at
loves
this,
it.
let's be honest, yeah, at the center of this, tweets out that Tesla will no longer accept Bitcoin payments for its cars.
Right.
Now, we don't know how many, if any, people have paid for Teslas in Bitcoin. I've said many times that as interesting an option as crypto is, if you bought a Tesla or anything with crypto, you're risking a lot of money instantly.
Yes.
By the time you drive that car off the lot, you may have lost thousands of dollars,
Right.
or gained thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
depending. So he says, all of a sudden, I've realized that crypto is bad for the environment, which
I never understood that comment. I've been studying it all week, and I still don't know quite what it means.
the Musk comment.
Yeah, the one about the environment.
Right. So to mine crypto is horrible for the environment because you're using all these servers and all this energy, and it takes all of this stuff off the grid, and it pollutes. And it's incongruous and has been since the beginning for Elon Musk to say, I'm making these cars that are emissions free,
Right.
but I'm also really big into Bitcoin mining, which is terrible for the environment.
And it's also taking electricity away from Tesla in the long run, in
Yeah.
EVs.
So somehow he's come to Jesus moment on the environment and says, okay, we can no longer accept Bitcoin because of its environmental
But then
damage.
Thursday he announces, well, maybe Dogecoin can
Right.
be turned into a suitable replacement.
Yeah.
What
So
the hell is he doing?
he's pumping Dogecoin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. And again, we don't know his holdings of Dogecoin or Bitcoin. We know what Tesla has in terms of Bitcoin. We know it's sold some. We know it's made a handsome profit through the months that it's owned Bitcoin. But the Doge thing is still a bit of a mystery. But he's in there saying, hey, maybe Doge can be made better. Suddenly the price goes from 30 something cents back up to 50 something cents,
Yeah.
which is, granted, we're still talking cents here, but that's a big move percentage wise for a crypto, even for a cryptocurrency.
So we've now gone from a meme product to potentially an alternative currency that you can buy your car with
Right.
in a week, basically in a week and a half. Well, Doge a little longer, but good Lord. I mean, Dogecoin is now 50 cents. After his comment yesterday,
Right.
it's back up to 50 cents.
I mean,
While
but imagine,
Bitcoin has declined
Right.
from about 54.5 a coin to less than $50,000 in 24 hours.
and that was on the comment that Musk made that you can't buy a Tesla with it. Now imagine, and remember, Bitcoin went from, a few dollars up to tens of thousands of dollars per coin, largely on things, an ETF, the idea that you can buy things with it that gave it legitimacy.
Right.
Understood. If somebody buys a car with Dogecoin, imagine the legitimacy that would give Dogecoin. But if I've amassed enough Dogecoin at 50 cents a coin to buy a car,
Yeah.
and as I'm driving the car off the lot, Elon Musk tweets out, hey, somebody just bought a Tesla with Dogecoin, and it goes up to 70 cents on that news.
Yeah, you just paid $150,000 for that car.
Right. I'm thinking, oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't a great. So there's just so much uncertainty and speculation here that it's really not an investment. It's nowhere near an investment. It's a guess. It's a speculation.
Well, people sound like they want to do it. Earlier this week, Musk did a poll. Did you see that on Twitter? If
Yeah.
Tesla should accept Dogecoin as payment, 80% of 4 million votes said yes.
Right, and those are probably Dogecoin owners.
And they're all
people.
27 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's nothing that any of us would have problematic with Dogecoin buying
Yeah.
a car. My only problem, even with Bitcoin, is buying a car, is it encourages Bitcoin mining, which is bad for the environment.
Right.
But if Dogecoin can be done cleanly, and I have no idea.
I mean, wasn't the whole point of the semiconductor revolution that it would make things not only faster and less expensive, but it would be non-polluting? I mean, that was the idea. Well, you don't have to have big vacuum tube run mini computers, burning coal to make power. These things are small and cheap and they don't use that much power. Now it's all these damn servers around the world. They're going to pollute the planet.
True. I mean, chips are used for those, but chips are also used in the new generation of electric cars.
Yes.
That are emission free. So it works both ways. We're just a chip dependent society. You and I have talked about that many times in recent weeks. The promise of crypto was not as a speculative investment. It was as a way to buy things sort of under the radar of the government.
Right.
And now, look at what crypto is doing. It's gaining ground and gaining value because people are shouting from the rooftops that they want to buy things with crypto. It's really come in a strange arc where it's no longer, hey, I'm going to go on the dark web or Silk Road and buy drugs or something with crypto.
Do this illegal stuff.
Right. I'm going to scream from the rooftop, I'm buying a car with cryptocurrency.
I'm going to buy bread. I'm going to subscribe to Netflix.
Right. And
Okay.
the number of companies lining up to take this stuff is growing.
Okay, now let's add to this mix. Thursday night, a lot of things happened last night. Coinbase had its first earning report.
Yes.
Okay.
Boy, does it make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, Q1 it had earnings per share of $3.05. It brought in $1.8 billion of revenue, up from 580, so up 3 times from the fourth quarter of 2020. They had a 300% growth in one quarter.
Right. And remember, we talked about Coinbase possibly being a way into crypto without having to buy crypto and all of its crazy movements,
Right.
because Coinbase makes money per trade. So even if crypto has a bad week, which it did, Coinbase still makes a lot of money in the trades. Now, if people lose interest in crypto,
Then Coinbase hurts.
right, but there's
Yes.
no indication.
But right now it
against
has 56 million verified users, including 8,000 institutions. And monthly transacting users were 6.1 million during the quarter. So total volume of trade came in at $335 billion, of which 120 billion was retail investors and 215 billion was from institutional investors.
Which, so it's not just the young people.
No,
Right.
no, it's getting institutionalized.
Right.
And most of that volume was driven by Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, this was an incredible piece of news. But then the punchline, they didn't hit their numbers. You grow 300%. You now got a fifth of the country, a sixth of the country doing transactions on your site. All this has happened in 6 months, and the stock market punishes your stock because you didn't meet Wall Street's expectations.
A little bit. I mean, expectations are super high. The fact is, this is a stock trying to find its range, which is already impressively high. It was a direct listing, so we don't really know how Wall Street values Coinbase for a couple of reasons.
Right.
A, it recently IPO'd, and B, it's dealing in cryptocurrency. Wall Street doesn't even know how to value that.
Right.
So I think if you're, and again, I guess you can use the term investor at this point. If you're an investor in Coinbase or an employee who has stock options or whatever, I'd say you're sitting pretty because people seem to be very, very interested in this.
Yes.
And you're making a lot of money.
But as you said, the great danger is it actually is a fad. That these 27-year-olds are going to hit 35 and go, I don't want to play that game anymore. It's too volatile. I want to buy a house.
Right. And I don't want to overspend for that house. I think it's, you use the word game, and that's a dangerous word to use when people are investing money in it. It can't stay a game if people want to invest. It has to turn into a currency, a way to trade, something that's actually in our
system. How does it do that? How does it cross over from being a phenomenon to be actually an integrated part of modern life?
It's a tough go for crypto because part of the promise of crypto was we want to be under the government radar. But
Right.
now, largely because it got so big so fast, the IRS is hip to crypto. And that means you're not under the radar
You're
anymore.
not on the radar.
And so even if you buy something illegal with it, it's going to be traced. And that sort of erases the early promise of crypto. And you're going to be taxed on your profits.
Well, it takes the crypto off of it, doesn't it?
That's a good point. Yes, it does. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And so, consequently, you're trading it almost like you'd trade a speculative stock, which is fun and sexy, and I get it. That's for some people who have stronger constitutions than
Yeah.
I. But at the same time, everything you do is going to be tracked. And so, right, your wins and losses are just like if you won and lost on, Oracle stock or Cisco
Right.
stock or something. And then it becomes, are we still going to be into this in months and years to come?
Part of the appeal, I think, was playing on the dark side,
I agree.
and especially during the lockdown. What else are you going to do? It's kind of fun. It's kind of cloak and dagger, but it's in the sunlight's on that industry now. It's going to be a lot of investigation soon, I'm sure.
Yes, there are. There already are. And
Yeah.
you look at something, one of these meme stocks like AMC is a good example. AMC really hit it big in those early Robinhood days because people were having fun with it.
Right.
But, AMC is a traded stock on the public market. And when the earnings came out and people were like, well, we're in a pandemic, so no one's going to the movies, AMC lost a lot of money. Understandably, its
Yeah.
business was hit very hard. When it started to come back, hey, now you can go back to the movies, the stock went up. This had nothing to do with young traders trying to make a few bucks. This is the realities of the market. And eventually that's going to catch up with crypto, or whatever we're going to end up calling it as well. And so it becomes less of a speculative game and more of a, hey, here's the reality. Trade as you will at your risk.
Maybe pseudocurrency.
Pseudocurrency. Yeah. I mean, if it becomes a currency, then it has more legitimacy,
Sure.
and that's a different ballgame. But
No, I've always felt that This is one of those things that it's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen. We all give up on it happening, and then it happens. I mean, this is the story of technology, right? So, it's very possible that we will be all dealing with crypto in 10 years.
Yes.
Um, okay, we had a tech stock sell off this week. What happened?
We had a combination of earnings, like you said, even with big numbers, but that just didn't make
Yeah,
expectations.
the expectations of Wall Street are unbelievable right now.
Right, especially for software companies.
Yeah.
And so they took down a lot of the big stocks. And again, we're talking stocks like Apple that are worth 2 trillion. We're talking, Microsoft and Amazon that are worth nearly 2 trillion. So a little bit of a sell-off, I don't think is anything to worry about too much, but it just shows how frothy things can get.
Oh yeah,
And
especially with the inflation. Janet
inflation.
Yellen's finally admitting, yeah, maybe there is inflation going on, and apparently inflation is the greatest we've had in 20 years or something.
And if that happens and people start spending more on their daily supplies and groceries and gas, look at the price of gas.
Oh, if you get it.
Right. Yeah. Well, right. That's going to hit tech companies especially because that's they're still largely speculative and they pay a lot for shipping and all that stuff too. So it's hitting the bottom lines of these companies. We just don't know how much yet, and that's put some uncertainty in the market. Which, given how high things have gotten, I think.
Well, one more piece of uncertainty. So many jobs are going begging right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're not quite sure. I mean, we hear from the administration, no, people are not intentionally staying home because they're still getting, bailout money. And the companies are saying, we can't get people to come back. I don't know. What do you think it is? I mean, obviously the employment numbers were a fraction of what they were supposed to be in terms of new jobs last month. Is this a problem?
It's a problem for businesses that need to hire people back. But look, these are businesses that let people go,
Yeah.
understandably, because we were in a recession.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes time to bring them back.
Well,
Partially, yeah, because they're getting money from the stimulus, but also because some of them moved away, some of them went on to other jobs.
Yep.
So,
some of them like the life they have.
yeah, and think about.
And I think there's another factor too, which
Yeah.
is the old line: never treat a company better than it treats you. And these people got fired pretty quickly.
True.
And there may be a little, residual bitterness in there after these, living poor, locked in your house for the last year.
Right, understandably so. A company calling you up and saying, "Hey, we're getting the band back together. We're all the family." Well, it sure didn't feel like family
Yeah.
when you let me go
Yeah.
because people weren't coming into the bar or the restaurant. And again, that's the brutal reality of a recession. And it is interesting. I've been in several downtowns, small businesses and big businesses, putting up the shingles saying we need to hire people.
Everywhere.
Right, and I think
Or they're running a
eventually.
skeleton crew.
Oh yeah,
you know.
yeah, and it's an optimistic sign, but who gets the people back? And I think you're starting to see the $15 an hour start to go to 16 and
Yeah.
17. I know some, because I have teens, some of those jobs, the kind of teen jobs, lifeguards and things like that, are saying, all right, how's 1750? Kind of money we never saw as teenagers,
No
but they
kidding.
need these people to come back
Right.
and say, leave your house, put the Game Boy down, come work again, and we'll sweeten the deal. That's good for the economy.
Will they maintain those salaries once they get full employment back?
If they want to keep the workers, they will.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Okay, quick irony alert. Activists ask Mackenzie Scott, you know who Mackenzie Scott is,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Jeff Bezos' ex, to help fund their efforts to stop Amazon from building its Africa headquarters on sacred native land.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
just
bad.
thought I'd throw that one in.
Not bad.
Quick note, this morning, an hour ago, Grove sent me a note from Massachusetts noting that TSMC, remember, they're producing 80% of the world's chips. They're in Taiwan. They're in a vulnerable location. And there was talk of building elsewhere. And one of the big places they planned on building a lot of fab was the EU. Well, I guess those talks have broken down. And now TSMC is talking about doubling down on building fabs in the United States. So that's tens of billions of dollars of investment in the U.S., which only does us good because it reduces that vulnerability we've had.
Right. Although, you've also said that it takes years to build up
Yeah,
these.
that's the problem. It takes about 3 years.
Right. But I mean, right, that would be good news. And remember, Silicon Valley and America as a whole has lost so much manufacturing through
Yes.
the last several decades. It would be an interesting move if some of that came back. Some countries like Ireland are going to be taking advantage of Brexit. I didn't realize maybe we can as well.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I noticed that Google is racing to use machine learning to and change its Google Analytics to deal with what's being called a post-cookie world. That the age of cookies, the idea of tracking us that way, it looks like it's approaching its end. I don't think it'll be deeply mourned by average users like you and me. I think companies are going to miss it. They're going to try to figure out other ways to track us, probably more pernicious ones, knowing that industry.
Well, think about it. I mean, right, the cookie is largely a web thing. But
Yes.
where do we surf now? We surf on our phones.
Right.
And Apple has laid down the gauntlet with its, little warnings. I've seen them pop up. Do you
Yeah.
want this app to be able to track you? Facebook obviously fighting that. But Apple eventually is going to win that battle because it makes the iPhones.
Right.
So these companies like Google do need new ways to track us. And woof, who knows what those new ways
Yeah,
will be.
I know.
Because the other ways were pretty darn effective.
Maybe it's just going to be surgical implants when we go in to get, to our dentist or something. And finally,
Not to give the conspiracy theories any air on the shots that we've just got, but yeah.
finally, and I want your view on this because you're in the same business. I talked to a very, very influential Bay Area journalist the other day. I'm going to keep his name out of it so I can keep his employer out of it. But he said, for the last couple of years, trying to talk to Facebook, Google, and Apple has been almost impossible. They don't answer phone calls. Their PR departments, they're dealing with national media and all that, and they didn't give the local media the time of day hardly. He said in the last 2 months, all of that has turned around. And now all of a sudden, those companies are calling him, pitching stories. Can we arrange an interview? All of that. And I asked him for his explanation. And he wrote, well, for Facebook, I think they want to explain their position on issues and hope to have us stop ripping them. They're trying to improve their increasingly ugly reputation locally. So they may be having a little trouble hiring as a possibility. Okay,
Yeah.
Next, Apple. I think they see an opening and want us to keep hitting Facebook and separate them as the good guys and have us keep pounding Facebook as the bad guys. He's very engaged in this battle between Facebook and Apple. He's having a great time covering it. And finally, Google. And he says they're schmoozing all the local media because they're trying to get that their two developments, Mountain View and downtown San Jose, passed and get the support of the community instead of protesters and unions and all that kind of stuff. So they're trying to get good publicity in the local media. Are you experiencing that? You are his counterpart. You already know who I'm talking about, but you're his counterpart. Are you experiencing the same thing?
I mean, what are you asking here? You're asking if tech companies in Silicon Valley want good press.
Yeah, but they usually, for years, since they've gotten huge and global, they've been kind of indifferent to local press.
I mean, to an extent, yeah, but a lot of the news is now very local. And he's right. If it's an Apple and Facebook battle, that's two local companies within a stone's throw of each other. Google with the San Jose news, obviously they're trying to schmooze, not just reporters. I mean, I'm sure for every call I get, the mayor and all those people get 10, right? Because those are the people that are going to actually make the decision. And what was the third company? Facebook. Yeah, I mean, Facebook has a lot of
baggage.
Yeah, a lot of baggage. But no, I mean, I've been getting calls from these guys fairly regularly, and it's a dance that I've been doing for years, trying to get through to the right people, trying to get some of the love that the networks get. I get it, and I don't know that they're doing more of it, but
is it a sea change in attitude towards you?
It's always been a pretty good attitude. I mean, I enjoy the back and forth. I have friends at those companies,
Yeah.
and we spar, and it's friendly. And at the end of the day, we'll, I mean, back in the day before all this, we might go have drinks, but it's, hey, I want this. We're not going to give you that. Hey, but I want that. You've got to give me this. No, but if you say this, no, I'm not going to say that. And that's part of the whole
Right.
game, trying to get the story. And yes, these companies have stories. And remember, and we talked about the term was techlash, as coined by the great Kara Swisher.
Yes.
And this techlash hit these guys very hard. And it hit them locally. It hit them where they live, where they hire.
I think it astonished them.
I think so
They
too.
thought they were noble.
All of a sudden, everybody's coming out against us. Hey, what did
Right.
we do wrong? And there's me saying, you want the whole list or the top 10?
Yeah.
And so they are trying to get into the good graces locally because, again, that's where they live, that's where they hire, that's where they want to build things, like entire campuses in city downtowns.
Like small cities.
Yeah, so that part hasn't changed, and I'm glad that some of us have seen more contact made, and yeah, I hear from them more often, but again, the story is still the same. It's balancing their desire to do something here with my desire to hold their feet to the fire on privacy, and it usually comes down to privacy with any of these guys.
Sure.
That's the big deal.
I have to tell you, years ago I had the ultimate experience of, as a journalist, being a reporter, calling powerful company. I called this big company, and I got the president's CEO's secretary. And I said, hi, I'm Mike Malone. I'm doing a story for Electronic Business. Can I speak to Mr. Jones? I'm sorry, Mr. Jones is not available. Later that day, I called again on another story. It was actually a column. And I said, hi, I'm Mike Malone with the New York Times. May I speak to Mr. Jones? She didn't say anything. I just heard a click. Hi, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, I get it.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's it for a crazy week. You can find us on the Silicon Valley Business Journal homepage, as well as on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.